Hi everybody, I'm going to read you today Completely Clementine. So, we love watching the antics that Clementine gets herself into and all kinds of fun she has. And today we're going to find out what happens in Completely Clementine. So here we are, chapter 1. It is written by Sara Pennypacker, and the pictures are by Marla Freeze. She draws the pictures, like this one on the front. All right, chapter 1. As soon as I woke up Monday morning, I flopped down on the floor with my drawing pad. I drew a cow with a sagging down mouth and rivers of tears flowing from her eyes. When I was finished, that cow looked so sad my own eyes started to cry. A little bit. So I wiped them so I could admire what a great job that I'd done. And then I smiled. Because, oh yes, this drawing was going to crack my father's heart, all right. I drew about 100 more teardrops splashing down and adding a couple of ducks paddling around in the puddle of cow sadness. Then I got dressed and I went out to the kitchen, where everyone else was already at the table. Okra, would you please pass this to your father? I asked, sitting down. My brother, who is obsessed with dinosaurs these days, took the drawing in his teeth and passed it over. So you have to know about Clementine. She calls her brother a different vegetable as his name every time she talks to him. My brother said, pass it to my dad. My dad said, this is not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. A cow with hose eyes. That could come in handy for putting out fires in the dairy barn, I suppose. I grabbed the drawing back and stomped into my room to label it the crying cow. Then I crossed out crying, and changed it to weeping. This is because weeping is a lot sadder than crying. It's tragical, really. I like to use exactly the right words for things. Then I stomped back and handed it to my brother again. Collard greens, please pass this to our father. I growled into my orange juice. Here's her picture. If you can see the weeping cow. My brother pawed up my drawing and slid it across the table. This time, my dad didn't even look at it. Clementine, try to understand, he said. It was very nice of Mrs. Jacoby to bake that meatloaf for us. She knows how tired your mom is these days with the baby due so soon. She wanted to help out. It would have been rude not to eat it. I zipped my mouth into a straight roller so it wouldn't say, what about that cow in the meatloaf? Do you think you were rude to her? Because an important part of not speaking to someone is not speaking to them. I'm so mad at my father, I told my brother at the bus. I told Margaret as soon as I got on the bus. Since I turned vegetarian, my mom and Pinto Bean haven't eaten any animals either. But my dad won't do it. He ate meatloaf Saturday night. I'm so mad I can't even talk to him. It's been one day, 13 hours, and I lean over and check Margaret's watch. 21 minutes. Oh yeah, Margaret said, the silent treatment. The silent treatment, I said? It's a treatment? Margaret nodded hard. Very effective. Very effective. Hold out for a lot. There's the picture. What do you mean? The last time I used the silent treatment was in the spring, when my mother told me what kind of wedding she wasn't having. I'm still getting stuff out of that one. A couple of years ago, Margaret had watched a real prince and princess get married on television. Since then, she considered herself an expert on royal weddings. So when she learned her mother was getting remarried, she figured she'd get to run the wedding. I wasn't there for her first one. To my father, she told me, but I can make up for that now. This one with Alan is going to be a doozy. She got a little carried away, though, planning this and planning that. One problem, she forgot to tell her mother about it. When Margaret's mother finally heard about the special wave from the balcony, the satin train with 14-foot men to carry it, the carriage ride, and 100 other details, she said, N-O, no. What part no? Margaret had asked. Margaret's mother had meant no to all of it, which made Margaret go berserk. 3 whole days I didn't talk to her, Margaret said. On the last day, I even added my invisible treatment. What's that? You act as if the person is invisible to you. I looked right through her, as if she weren't there. You should use it on your father. I don't think I could do that, I told her after I tried to imagine it for a while. My father's the opposite of invisible. Too bad. It's very powerful. It made my mother give in. She agreed to have a flower girl, me, and get me a new dress, whatever I want. And tomorrow, I'm getting the best part. New shoes. This was so ridiculous, I snort laughed. Shoes? Margaret? Getting new shoes isn't winning anything. I thought back to when I got new sneakers last fall. In fact, I think shopping for shoes is a punishment. Oh, these shoes are winning something. All right, these shoes are going to be high heels. I felt my jaw drop down. It took all my powers to crank it back up to my chin by the time we got to school. First thing when I walked into room 3B, my teacher asked, "Yet?" And I answered, "Not yet." We've been yetting and not yetting each other about waiting for babies since spring. First it was me yetting him. But after his baby was finally born in May, he started saying yetting to me. And I started not yetting him back. And not yet about a name either, I answered to his next question as I sat down. Oh, so her teacher had the baby before her mom. So her teacher's wife was having a baby and her mom's having a baby. So he had it first. When the pledge was over, Mr. DeMatz called us for circle sharing time. As you know, this is the last week of school, and we have a lot to accomplish. Mr. DeMatz waited while all the kids cheered. Yay! School was about to be over. All the kids except me, that is. I'm happy about no school for the whole summer, too. But, of course, but I've got just so much great stuff planned. What I'm not happy about is the rest of it. The starting over with a new class in the fall part, and the what if I don't get a nice teacher part, and most of all, the saying goodbye to Mr. DeMatz part. I don't like saying goodbye. Thursday is the last day of school. Mr. DeMatz started up again, so we've only got 4 days. We'll have to hurry to get our work finished, because I know we'll want to leave plenty of time to say goodbye. At recess, Rashid and Maria ran up to me. What did Margaret say? They asked. Maria and Rashid have been asking me this every single day since they fell in love this spring. Actually, it was Rashid who fell in love, and Maria just said, I don't care, sure, whatever, about being in love back. When they heard that Margaret was an expert in royal weddings, they started passing along questions on how to get married. Margaret said, you should have about 1,000 lights, but you shouldn't see the wires. I told them that she said that. When Princess Diana got married, they used ferrets to run the wires through the pipes underground. Rashid sighed. I don't know anybody with a ferret, and my cat's too fat to go through underground pipes. No problem, said Maria. Flomax will do it. Lizards love to go in skinny places. Once he got loose, and a week later, he crawled out of the bathtub drain. But ask Margaret about those arm gloves she said I had to wear. Do you think I need them if it's summertime, or are they just for winter? When they ran off, I took a marker out from my pocket and added a new exclamation point to my arm, the arm reminder I've been keeping since all this started. No weddings for me. No weddings for Clementine. Chapter 2. Here we are, Chapter 2. Tuesday morning, I had to put my newest sad animal drawing beside my dad's coffee cup because he was already off at work. Petrified piglets was my best one yet. Baby pigs running away from a farmer holding a hot dog roll and a jar of spicy mustard. Oh my gosh, look at that picture. And here's Clementine. About to put the picture down with her mom. Looks like her mom's reading the paper. Mom, I wish you could hurry up and have our baby. I told her as I slid into my seat. I wish you could have it before Thursday so I could let my teacher know what a good baby is like. My mom handed me an English muffin and a jar of almond butter. You mean his new little boy isn't a good baby? She asked. Shook my head. As I spread the almond butter into a perfect circle. He sounds like a dud, I answered. Yeah, Mr. DeMatz is always telling us things like, wow, yesterday he drank an extra ounce of milk. He really loves to look at his at his mobile, as if these were the most exciting tricks any human in the world ever perform. I think it's just that he doesn't know any better. This is the only baby he's got, so I wish I could tell him about ours. My mom patted her belly. You think our baby's gonna be more interesting than his? Is that it? I nodded. And more fun. Well, it might not all be fun, said my mom. At least not in the beginning. She went into her bedroom and came out a minute later with a folded up piece of paper. Do you remember this? It's a letter to your brother when he was a week old. You dictated it to me, and we went to the post office so you could mail it to him. I took the note and I read it. Dear Spinach, I love you. I would love you more if you stopped crying. Also, if you did something besides crying. Love, your sister, Clementine. Oh, right, I said. I do remember. Yam was kind of a dud, too. Still, could you try to have the baby early? There are only a few more days of school left, and it would be really great to brag about it. Share about it at circle sharing time. So how about you try to have it on... Got up to check at the calendar. Not today. Try really hard not to let the baby be born today, Mom. Why not? What's today? I couldn't believe she had forgotten something this important. Mom, today is the 2nd anniversary of when I threw up on the subway. Oh my gosh, this would be a terrible day for that baby to be born. My mother laughed. Oh my gosh, well, it would also be a terrible day because we're not ready. A panicky look came over her face then. We're not ready yet. We're not ready yet, she cried. She grabbed the edge of the table and squeezed until her knuckles went white. Then she took a couple of deep breaths. It's okay. It's okay, she said in a calm down now voice. July 2nd is still 2 weeks away. July 2nd is our baby's due date. This is not like a library due date because we're not just borrowing a baby. And it's not like a sell-by date on groceries because our baby is going to start to get moldy and rot. Because our baby isn't going to start to get moldy and rot after that. What it is a date our baby is aiming to be born. My mother doesn't keep a calendar inside her belly, but somehow our baby is going to know that around July 2nd, we're going to be expecting to see it. I figured out that by July 2nd, our baby would be expecting something too. Did you decide on a name yet? I asked as I put my backpack on, because I've got some new thing names for you. When I first heard about a new baby coming, I wanted it to have a food name. My name is a fruit, Clementine, which I used to hate, but now I like it. I call my brother vegetable names to make it fair, because he used to hate that, but now he loves it when I do it. So I thought our new brother or sister should have a food name too. So he or she, they wouldn't feel left out. My dad said yes, because he's always wanted to name a kid Noodle. It's so good, he pleaded, for either a boy or a girl. Noodle, Noodle. But my mother just said, absolutely not. Then I tried a compromise, which means nobody wins, nobody loses either. How about a thing name then? Let's give the baby a name that's also a thing, at least. My father loved this idea too. My mother rolled her eyes at the suggestion. Long nut, pencil, Q-tip, and noodle again. But she didn't hate the thing name idea. Dawn, she said. That's a lovely name. Or maybe Colt, if it's a boy. So do you want to hear them, I asked. Maybe later. We still have 2 weeks, Clementine, and I have a feeling the perfect name will show up by then. She patted my back and turned me toward the door. Right now, Clementine, it's time for school. This is just a picture of the mom saying, we're not ready. We're not ready. Oh my gosh. So right now it's time for school. At recess, I gave Maria the bad news about the gloves. Yes, summer or winter. But Margaret says if it's a summer wedding, you could skip the fur cape. She also said you should start practicing the royal wave. Can you guys see that? The royal wave. I put my hand up beside my face to demonstrate what Margaret had taught me. Just a swivel of the hand, nothing flappy, and always above the shoulder. Okay, above the shoulder, below the crown. Above the shoulder, below the crown of your head. While Maria was practicing the special wave, Rashid came over dragging Joe. Joe's going to be my best man, he said, but he says he'll only do it if his dog Buddy can be in the wedding too. Ask Margaret if that's okay. Tell Margaret that for a dog, he barely slobbers at all, Joe added. And right then, I saw something amazing that I'd never seen before. Something really, really amazing. Joe, I yelled, I see your knees. Joe ignored me and went on telling about some great tricks his dog could do to entertain the wedding guests. I grabbed him by the shoulders and I looked straight in his face. Joe, I said, you don't understand. I see your knees. And then his eyes got so big, I thought they were going to pop out of his head. You mean? Very slowly, as if afraid he was going to see what he really hoping he was going to see, he looked down at his legs. When his eyes saw that his knees were peeking out from under his shorts, his mouth fell open. He hugged me. Then he hugged Maria and Rashid. Then he apologized for hugging all of us. Then he took off around the playground, high-fiving everybody he saw. When he ran out of kids to high-five, he leaped up in the air and punched the air. Yes, he said, yes, it started. My growth spurt has started. Joe has been the shortest kid in our class since kindergarten. He's been praying all these years for a sudden growth spurt. Now he got it, and he looked happier than I'd ever seen him. If you keep this up, you'll have to bend over to hand Rashid the ring at the wedding, I said. Joe smiled bigger still, and I think even his teeth had gotten taller. They might have to raise the 4th grade doorways by the time school starts in September, I said. Joe's grin nearly split his cheeks off. I should probably warn Principal Weiss, just to be fair. You should, I agreed. Your growth spurt is astounding. Astounding? She loves those funny words, doesn't she? Joe's smile collapsed. He narrowed his eyes. What do you mean, astounding? That's not a word. Of course it is. I use it all the time. I know you do, but it's still not a word. Oh yeah? How come you never told me that before? Joe shrugged. Guess I just wasn't tall enough before. As soon as I got inside, I asked my teacher if I could use his grown-up dictionary, the one with all the words in the whole entire world, while the other kids began cleaning out their desk. It's not here, I cried. After I searched and searched and searched, I found astounding and astonishing, but not astounding. It's missing. And then my teacher said something that I did not want to hear. That's because it's not a real word. I closed that dictionary so hard, it flattened a bunch of words. I closed it so hard. But it has to be a word. It's a great word. Mr. DeMatz put his coffee cup down. Well, let's think about this interesting question. What is the job of language? When my teacher says, well, let's think about this interesting question, it means he's too lazy to figure out a lesson and he wants a kid to do it for him. Usually, I try to help him out, but just then I was too upset, so I folded my arms and waited for him to answer it himself, which he did. Language job is to communicate as clearly as possible. On the one hand, we have rules, like grammar and spelling and a set of words we agree to use, so everybody can understand each other easily. But on the other hand, language has to grow and change too. People make up new words to describe things. They describe new things with those words. So maybe you've made a new word. You shouldn't use it in a school paper and you'd get it marked wrong on a spelling test. But you can use it with me, all right? Because I agree that is a great word. Mr. DeMatz put the dictionary back in its place on the shelf. And speaking of things that grow and change, I clapped my hands over my ears fast because I knew what was coming. All last week, he had to tell me what a great year I've had and how I was ready to say goodbye to him and head off for 4th grade. He'd been getting trickier about it and sneaking up on me about this, but I was getting trickier by avoiding it. So when anybody wanted to talk to me, I put my hands over my ears. Sounds like Clementine doesn't want to say goodbye to her teacher, right? Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me. I think Mrs. Lillis in 2nd grade. I loved her so much. I didn't want to move on to 3rd grade. Does it happen to you guys? There's some, we love and respect all teachers, but you do have some special ones, special ones out there. I just remember I left the bologna sandwich in my desk in September, I said. So I ran out of the room. I better go get it clean now. Chapter 3. What does that look like? Is that Clementine looking at Margaret's washed again on the bus? Looks like they're on the bus. Chapter 3. On the bus ride home, Margaret asked me how the silent treatment was going. I didn't say a single word all night, I said. And then I checked her watch. Yeah, she was checking her watch. So now it's been 2 days, 20 hours, and 56 minutes. It's really hard though, Margaret. Is it harder than not scratching when you had poison ivy last summer? Is not talking to him harder than that? That doesn't count, I decided. I thought about it for a minute, but when I had poison ivy, my mother taped socks over my hands. That made it easier. Margaret sat back on the bus thinking, well, I guess you could tape socks over your lips. What do you think? But clean, never been used ones before. Of course, I could get some for you. I said thanks, but no thanks to that, and I changed the subject. Maria and Rashid want to know if Joe's dog could be in the wedding. What a tongue twister. Can you say Joe's dog? Joe's dog. It's a tricky one. A dog in the wedding? In the actual wedding? Of course not, Margaret sputtered. But find out if Buddy can pull the carriage. Otherwise, they're going to have to get a horse. When I got home, I found my mother on the kitchen floor. Uh-oh. Mom, I cried, what are you doing? Although I could see she was scrubbing underneath of the stove with a toothbrush. She said, I'm getting ready, in a voice that sounded as puffy and sweaty as she looked. There's a baby coming soon, you know. I'm getting ready, as she kept scrubbing. But, Mom, the baby's not going to live in the oven. We have a crib, remember? So, Mom? Just then, my dad poked his head into the kitchen and signaled me for me to come in the living room. I did, but I pressed my mouth closed hard so no words would slip out. Your mother, he said in an extra loud voice, is completely sane. She's sane. At the same time, he was pooching at his belly and making crazy circles at his temples with his fingers. He was telling me that Mom was acting a little nuts because of being pregnant, which had been happening more and more lately. On Saturday, she washed and folded all the baby's clothes, which she had already washed and folded on Friday. On Sunday, she color-coded everything in the hall closet. And last night, after dinner, she alphabetized the food in our refrigerator. Dad says what she's doing is called nesting, like a bird does. It's a perfectly normal stage that happens right before a baby is born. It didn't seem that normal to me, though. Actually, it makes me a little worried. My dad left to go to work, and suddenly, more than anything, I wished I could call him back so he could tell me that everything was fine with Mom. I needed to break his heart with my sad animal drawings pretty soon because I didn't know how much longer I could keep up the silent treatment. So I went into my room to make an extra sad one that would work this time. I decided on a turkey looking at a November calendar with drops of worry sweat fountaining on his forehead. I labeled it Thanksgiving Tragedy, and I turned the 2 T's into hatchets to help my dad get to the point. Then I tucked the drawing into my pocket and went to find him. Oh no. Thanksgiving, there's a turkey coming up. Everybody eats turkey on Thanksgiving, and that's Clementine with her dad. Oh my gosh, he was in the lobby. He was hanging a big yellow sun from the chandelier. I opened my mouth to ask why. Just then I remembered, nope. I clamped my mouth shut. My dad must have noticed my how come eyes. Because he said, Sunday's the summer solstice. It's a pretty important day. It's the first day of summer. I watched him tack up a welcome summer sign, and then I remembered why I'd come up here in the first place. I pulled out my drawing and handed it to him. And my wish came true. His whole face crashed down in sadness. His eyes, his mouth, his ears, and even his beard. Clementine, he said with a big sigh, could you please try to remember what we talked about after Beauty and the Beast? And he turned away and pressed the elevator up button. As he got in, his shoulders sagged a little, as if they were sad too. I would have been really happy that my drawing had done such a good job. Except now I was too busy trying not to think about Beauty and the Beast time. Because remembering that would have wrecked everything. There's her dad. All right, I'm going to do one more chapter. Chapter 4, because this is so good. All right, time for a breath. I think we've got to do it in the beginning. So let's do some now. So take a deep breath in. Then breathe out. Try to just do it through your nose. Keep your mouth closed. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your nose. Keep your mouth closed. One more time. Breathe in. And then breathe out through your nose. All right. This is our mid-story break. All right. Good job with the breathing though. All right. Chapter 4. Here we go. Uh-oh. What does that look like is going to happen? Clementine. Looks like she's pointing at her teacher, Mr. DeMatz. Wednesday morning, after yetting and not yetting with Mr. DeMatz, I told him the great idea I had. You think I'd make a good fourth grade teacher? You think I'd make a good fourth grade teacher, he said. Well, thank you. That is a compliment. I nodded. So you should switch in September. That's not how it works, he said. There are already 2 fourth grade teachers in his school, and they're both planning on coming back. Besides, I really like it here in 3rd grade. Oh, sure, you like us in 3rd grade, I explained, but because we're such a great class. But you never know what's coming next year. I've seen the 2nd graders eating lunch, and let me tell you, some of them are, Luckily, just then, I remembered some words my grandmother had used to describe my father when he was little. Hellions. Some of them might even be feral. They might bite you, and then you'd have to check them for rabies. My teacher laughed as if I had told him a really, really good joke. Well, they won't be you guys, that's for sure, he said. You are a special class, all right. But I like teaching this age group. I like seeing how much 3rd graders change during the year. Take you, for example, Clementine. Let's take you. No thanks, I said. Let's not take me, for example. Let's take Joe instead. He's really changed lately. Hey, Joe, come on up here and show Mr. DeMatz how tall you've gotten. And it worked. Joe's growth spurt tricked our teacher into forgetting about saying, goodbye, Clementine. You've really changed, so you're really ready for 4th grade. He didn't say trick for too long, though. In math, we did a short review, and then, as he collected our fraction blaster packets, he started in again. It's added up to quite a year, he said, and suddenly, I knew we weren't talking about quarters and thirds anymore. I'm so proud of each and every one of you, of how much you've learned and grown. You've mastered a lot of material, and now you're ready for new challenges. I'm reminded of the mother and her baby birds. Like Are You My Mother book. Before he could get going with his favorite story about how great it is when perfectly happy, unsuspecting little birds get kicked off their branches, I shot up my hand. Yes, Clementine? I have to go to the principal's office, I said. Right now? Is it an emergency? Yes, I said, yes. Glad he thought up this good reason. An emergency. An emergency because I forgot it just happened. Mr. DeMatz looked kind of confused at that part. So I jumped up and left. I stomped down the hall to the principal's office. Stomp, 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 which is something I've done so many times this year. I'm surprised the hall doesn't have a path worn into it. When Mrs. Rice answered my knock, I stomped in, sat down, crossed my arms over my chest, and aimed my stingray eyes at her. That is called sending a message. Can you do that? Can you cross your arms, make a pouty face, and look at the person around you, or look and say, like you're serious about something? I see that seriousness in your eyes. I can see you out there. Hello, Clementine, she said, completely ignoring the message I was giving with my eyes. I haven't seen you in a while. What's on your mind? I think you should promote him, I said. Our teacher. He's really grown this year. He's really mastered the material, and he's ready for a new challenge. So I think you should kick him out of the branch. Promote him to 4th grade. You're the principal. You can do it. Well, but moving to a higher grade isn't a promotion for a teacher. All of our grades provide teachers the same amount of, let's see. She was looking for the right word hanging there. She looked up at the ceiling to find it. Well, never mind, she said after a minute of not finding the word. But speaking of growing, I'd hardly recognize you from the beginning of the year, Clementine. You've grown so much. I jumped off the chair and I looked down at my legs to see if the growth spurt had snuck up on me. Oh no, Mrs. Rice chuckled. No, I didn't mean you're taller, although I expect you are. I should have said, you've really matured this year. Why, I haven't seen you in here for a chat about your behavior since, 3 Wednesdays ago, I said. My feet were too bored to stay under my desk during a film the nurse showed us about nutrition. Mrs. Rice's head snapped up. Oh, not the super vitamins film, where the apples wear little capes? The one with the sword-fighting carrots? I nodded, yeah. My feet were getting very itchy just about thinking about how boring that film was. Good grief, I know that one. Just between us, Clementine, my feet would have gotten a little bored too if I had to sit through that film again. So that trip to my office doesn't really count. And before that, the last time you were here, well, I can't even remember, which is quite a difference because in the beginning of the year, you were a regular visitor. You've gotten so much better about controlling your impulses and thinking ahead about consequences. So you see, I think you're the one who's ready for the promotion, Clementine. Suddenly, I was all finished being there, so I got up to leave. There's the principal, Mrs. Rice. Have a wonderful summer, Clementine, Mrs. Wright said. I'll see you next year. I stopped in the doorway, and mind reading must be something they teach you at principal school. Yes, Clementine, Principal Rice promised to the question I hadn't asked aloud. I will be right here. Aw, all right. We're going to end right there. That was 1 through 4. We'll come back and read chapter 5 very soon. See that picture? That's going to start out chapter 5. Looks like they're in somebody's closet. What do you think? Do you think her mom's going to have the baby? You think Clementine's going to have a new baby in the house by the time we get to chapter 5? All right. So think about that. And thanks for coming by for Completely Clementine. And I will see you soon. All right. Have a great day, okay?